Hi friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and in yesterday's video I said that today's video would be focused on using the Pip cards, the visual clues from a Pip card, rather than necessarily combining the number with the suit. Now, I think this, I have to say that it's kind of a spontaneous thing. You can't force it. I mean, if the inclination, if when I lay the cards, I'm inclined to interpret it number and suit, that's how I'm going to do it. Sometimes, though, I will see a pattern in the cards, or I will just be struck by the image, of, well, we'll use this one. Sometimes I'll just be struck, right, by the image of a card, and I'll be drawn to the image more than I'll be drawn to the number and the suit. And then sometimes I combine the understanding I have of the image as well as the number and the suit. So we'll see what today's cards will yield. This isn't a predetermined kind of demonstration. As always, I lay the cards as you see, the way, as you see me lay the cards. They're not laid on the table already. Before I get involved, I want to address two things. The first one is the deck that I'm using, and I've been using the Artisan Tarot, the Nicholas Convert Tarot of Marseille, quite a bit lately in support of my friends over at Artisan Tarot. I believe that, today or tomorrow are the last days of their Kickstarter run. So if you haven't gotten in on this deck, go ahead. They've met all their stretch goals. But aside from getting nifty gifts, you really want the deck. The deck is just, it's a joy to use. And in relation to yesterday's video, Xantha Leaf asked, and if one person asks it, other people will. And it was a good question, so I thought I'd address it in this video. When I was doing the cardinal directions, like north, south, east, and west, and how I came upon them, Xantha asked, well, what if they live elsewhere on the planet? Is it relative to you, or is it relative to them? Now, as far as the cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west, east is east, no matter where in the world you are, north is north, etc. But I think probably what that person meant was maybe even like seasons of the year. When it's summer here, is it summer? It won't be summer necessarily where that person is, where that person lives. And so how do I adjust for that? Well, I don't, although I have my method for determining north, south, east, and west, winter, spring, summer, fall, which I didn't actually address in yesterday's. I forgot to address the seasons. But, the way I interpret the cards is when I focus and meditate, my focus and meditation is always on the client. It's always to give the client the best possible and most meaningful interpretation of the cards to suit them, their need, right? The cards are never about me unless I'm reading for myself, right? But the interpretation is always for the benefit of the person. So if I were to say fall or winter, it doesn't matter that my fall or winter is different than theirs. The information is relevant to their lives because the card interpretation is meant for them. It's intended for them, not I. And that's how there's no adjustment, because what I say is the message, because it's understood in the way I meditate, is that the message is the best possible message and meaningful message for the client. Okay, moving onward, let's hope the cards will yield us what we need. A few examples of illustrated pips to give us, to spark meaning just based on their image rather than the number and the suit. So I focused on this question, and also with the intent that it was going to be a demonstration, and hopefully that we'll get some pips that strike me in a way to interpret the cards as they look, and not necessarily by combining the number with this suit. So my fictitious question was a young man in his young 20s, has been offered an opportunity to move across country away from his family. It seems like a good idea and he's eager to do it, but he'll miss his family and friends and he just wants to know in general if it's a good idea. Now, that is essentially a yes or no question, and when someone asks a yes or no question, the answer is kind of brief. But we might be able to get clues about why it's a good move or why it might not be. So let's lay card. In general, I like to lay about 9 cards. Because sometimes when people do ask a question, there is often multiple aspects of that question, that the question is all related, right? The question is related. The 3 questions or whatever that they have might all be related to the same event. Well, that's interesting. We have the world beneath the tower. So we have creation and, the manifestation of all good things underneath a disruptive card. Okay, so we were granted three Pip cards with this particular reading. And the intent was, was to see if we can get visual clues from the pips more than their combined meanings. So in each tier of 3, we have a pip card. Okay, well, I'm struck immediately by the visual clues with these pips as they relate to a card in their row, right? Here we have the world card immediately next to the same shape, right? With not a person, but a piercing through. So it's kind of like, the world is your oyster. Go get it, right? Go get it. So I would immediately be, whether or not, this was a demonstration for how to read the cards, visually rather than number and suit, I would immediately be struck by this combination, right? That this is, a manifestation of getting what you want and fighting for it and go getting it, right? Then it doesn't hurt that we have the bachelor right there, meaning do what you got to do, get it done, go ahead, go do it, right? Now in the second row, I'm struck by the same combination of images, right? We have the tower repeated in the coins, right? This is a card of shakeup. It can be devastating, but because it falls above the world card, I'm not too upset about it. But it will rock his world, and it will, it will bring changes to him, particularly maybe if there is a woman in his life, who has been a supportive image, a supportive person. You can never assume that someone has, a supportive mother or even has a mother. Sometimes people have lost their parents, so you can't assume to recognize who this person is, but you can offer it, that maybe there is someone who has, that this person might be. But at any rate, the fact that this 8 of coins appears, and, the suit of coins, I'm going to give it double duty, right? The suit of coins is the suit of well-being, and 8 is a good number of well-being, plus it reminds me of the tower. So it's whatever damage or whatever shakeup there is, it's of a positive nature, right? This is an intact tower, and it comes after, because I do tend to look at the cards left to right. That's my way. If it's not your way, then it would maybe mean different for you. But, the combination of the tower here with the world here, and then the second tower here of strength and fortitude and, being a very strong, a strong message, I would say that it would be a good thing. So, it was very fortunate that 2 of the 3 pip cards immediately I see in relation to other cards that are right in the row, right? And they reinforce, or they support, or they, they play visually for me more than they do the suit and number, particularly here. Now, the card that appears between them, as I touched on before, maybe it will be most upsetting, or to a female in this individual's life, or it could be representing a need to cut, to cut ties. It does fall above another sword, a sort of go-get-em guy, right? So it's possible that, this would be this young man's opportunity for independence. The court cards aren't necessarily representing other people. It depends on how it strikes me during the reading. So I will always offer that it might be representative of a woman in his life, that, if someone is, a strong female in your life and she's encouraging you to do this, that might be supported by these cards, or, just the need to be more independent yourself, regardless of whether or not this is a woman. And then the top row, which I guess I'm reading in, last, we have a 6. I think that's a 6 of batons, right? We have the king of the same suit, and then we have the hermit, which is a 9. And so we have, a mature adult, which I don't think would represent the young man, because the young man is a young man. He'd probably be on a knight. This is a man who's accomplished stuff, right? He is who he is, and he's already accomplished. Plus, we have, at the end of the row, another card which represents an accomplished individual, somebody who is who he is, right? He has the benefit of age and experience behind him. Maybe it's possible that it will be harder on this gentleman than it will be on a woman or on the young man himself. Because between these two images, we have an X, right? We just have an X. So maybe, there is someone in his life who is a male, who he hates to separate from. Maybe he has a very close attachment to this individual, or the counsel of his parents, or a father figure, if not a father, right? So that might be the toughest thing, maybe, is to separate from this individual, or the counsel, or the experience that this person has had. But that doesn't mean that, that you no longer can have it, right? That person is only a phone call away. And, the appearance of an independent woman here, might be, underneath those 3 cards might be an indication of, it's time to cut loose, or it's time to be independent. And so I hope this demonstration illustrated the points I was trying to make, that sometimes you will read the cards as, a physical or visual clue, the Pip cards, but sometimes you'll read them as what they mean, and sometimes you'll read them both ways, because they can be relevant in both ways. Now, for this demonstration, I didn't do the quint cards, but that would be interesting to see, but, I'm trying to keep it brief here. So I hope this has been helpful to you. And until next time, friends, peace and stay well.